Ladies and gentlemen, today I'd like to speak to you about a set of islands, the Canary Islands. There are 7 of these islands in total. Maybe you know a few of the names of them. The 2 islands with the largest populations, for example, are Tenerife and Gran Canaria. I myself spent 1 year living on the island of Tenerife, where I was studying at a university there. Now, despite what you may think, I didn't actually go for the wonderful climate and the beautiful sunshine. I actually went because studying in Tenerife was the best option for me in terms of my studies at the time. The Canaries are located in the Atlantic Ocean, not far off the African coast. As a matter of fact, technically speaking, the Canary Islands are part of the African continent. This is the case if we look at the tectonic plates. However, in terms of politics and administration, the Canaries are officially part of Spain, of course. Now, being so far away from mainland Spain, these islands, of course, display many differences in comparison with the rest of Spain. One difference you would notice when arriving in the Canaries is that they do not run on the same time. The clocks do not run on the same time as in mainland Spain. In the Canaries, they are 1 hour earlier than the rest of Spain, meaning that they run on the same time as London. Secondly, upon arrival, you would probably notice that the accent and language is very different to the rest of Spain. I actually find that the accent that you hear in the Canaries is quite similar to the Spanish that you might hear spoken in Venezuela. Now, what about the climate of the Canary Islands? Well, of course, they are very sunny all year round, and this is why there are so many tourists who visit the island each year. But because of the fact that the Canaries are in the Atlantic, this means that they are vulnerable to occasional harsh storms that hit the area maybe once or twice a year. These storms can bring with them very strong winds which tear down power lines and destroy buildings. But generally, because the Canaries are further south than the rest of Europe, it means that the sun all year round is very pleasant. However, not all of the area is bathed in sun all the time, of course. The islands actually have microclimates. This means that the weather can vary greatly from one part of an island to another. Unfortunately, where I was living in Tenerife, this was often the case. You would often have a microclimate, which meant that clouds would get stuck above us, and they would mean that often we would be looking up at skies grey, which were grey, similar to those that you might see in London, unfortunately. Now, if you visit the Canary Islands, and if you visit Tenerife in particular, then there is one place I would definitely recommend you visit, and that is Mounttayde. But you have to be very careful because Mounttayde is an active volcano. If you climb to the top, then you can see the sulfur bubbling out. The last eruption was nevertheless a long time ago. It was in 1909. But you can still very much feel the fact that it is an active volcano. Teide, as a matter of fact, is the tallest mountain in Spanish territory. It reaches a total height of 3,718 meters. Now, as I was saying, the Canaries is part of Spain, but has this always been the case? Well, of course not. The Spanish arrived arrived in these islands, and at first they saw that they were inhabited by indigenous people known as the Guanches. Sadly, the Spanish entirely wiped out the whole of the Guanche population, and this means that there are no more Guanches alive today. The Guanches were said to be very tall and strong people, but they led very simple lives with rudimentary instruments and very scarce technology. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to encourage you to visit the Canary Islands, but please don't do what many people who visit the islands end up doing. Please don't just hide away in holiday resorts full of foreigners. There is a great deal to discover, so I encourage you to make the best of it. Thank you.